Welcome back to the conversation in News Central Television. We now switch gears to situations in Rwanda, where President Paul Kagame has announced his intention to run for full term the 2024 presidential election, a move permitted by a controversial 2015 amendment to the Constitution. President Paul Kagame has been in power for 23 years, and he responded to questions about Western opinions on his decisions by stating, and I quote, he says, "I'm sorry for the West, but what the West thinks is not my concern." End of quote. In April 2023, President Paul Kagame humorously mentioned his retirement plans after 23 years in office, emphasizing his desire to create an environment for emerging leaders rather than handpicking a successor. Despite Paul Kagame's landslide victory in the 2017 election, securing 98.8% of the vote, his regime faces accusations of suppressing dissenting voices. International rights groups have raised concerns about the treatment of opposition politicians, journalists, and activists both in Rwanda and abroad who have criticized Paul Kagame and the Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF. Now, joining me this evening to discuss this is Modeste Nkurikiyimana, a political analyst, and also Gatete Ruhumuliza, a lawyer, both joining from the Rwandan capital, Kigali. A warm welcome to you, gentlemen, and thanks for joining me this evening on The Conversation.
Here.
Now, I'd like to start with Gatete. President Paul Kagame has been in power for 23 years at a secular full term. I mean, looking at it, 23 years is quite a long time to stay in power. What are the key factors contributing to his enduring political influence in Rwanda? And are there no other suitable candidates or Rwandan citizens that could take over from President Paul Kagame?
Well, there are many Rwandans who can take over from Paul Kagame. And these Rwandans, we know that they are capable because Kagame has been empowering them. Rwanda has the biggest number of young people in cabinet, more than 60% of women in parliament. And, someone was pointing out to me that you have the highest number of Ivy League graduates in cabinet. And just last week, the new Minister of Infrastructure is an MIT graduate. The Minister of ICT is also an MIT graduate, and have all sorts of Ivy League leaders. And even beyond Ivy League leaders, you have also in the political party, the RPF, you have many leaders who have emerged under Kagame's tenure. But now you have to understand that these people have what they call the Kagame doctrine or the Kagame mentality. So they've been trained by him, and he's been training all these people so that when the time arises, when he leaves, he doesn't leave a vacuum in power. And the reason that he's running for a fourth term is because the party has asked him to remain in power. Why? Because the party is satisfied with his leadership thus far. Because we do not believe that people have to change in a formulaic fashion. People have to change because there's a reason. Paul Kagame is not incapacitated. He's still fit to serve. He's still delivering. We don't vote for him. We are voting for ourselves because we believe that he's guaranteeing our rights. He's guaranteeing our investment. He's guaranteeing our security and our growth. And if you look at the numbers, they speak for themselves. Rwanda has been one of the fastest growing economies in the world. It's one of the safest countries in the world. Unemployment has plummeted. Growth has soared. Kigali is one of the leading hubs in Africa. When you look at those things, then you understand why people are keen to have him stay in power. If you speak to foreign investors in Rwanda, they tell you one of the pull factors for them to invest here is because of Paul Kagame, because they know that the investment is secure.
Thank you, Gatete. I'd like to bring Modeste into the conversation. Now, Modeste, when I asked Gatete the question, he started by saying that yes, there are brilliant Rwandese citizens who can take over the helms of affairs from President Paul Kagame. And it says President Paul Kagame is one who empowers and does give opportunities to people. And President Paul Kagame actually mentioned his intention to create an environment for potential leaders to emerge. Uh, After 23 years in office, is it not enough time? Don't you see a contradiction? If you're seeking a full term and you're saying you've created an environment for potential leaders to emerge, is that not a contradiction in itself? And can you also elaborate on some of the mechanisms he might employ to facilitate this transition and maintain stability? Because Gatete did say that, that stability is one of the factors why that drives foreign direct investment to the country of Rwanda.
Thank you. And based on what you are asking, I don't think 23, I don't think people need only think of years being much or enough, but maybe in Africa, people need to be thinking about the utility or the reasons of maybe removing a president or a leader or even allowing him leading them further. For me, according to according to what is being said on President Kagame to be maybe to come again for the next presidential elections, I think this, as Gatete have been mentioning it, I think this came from the reason of having many Rwandans still presenting the willingness of having him. He has really done many outstanding actions. He has united or unified the Rwandans when after the genocide which was perpetrated against the Tutsis in 1994. And other many things, like today, if Rwanda can be now seen or recognized as a safest country in Africa, after the genocide that was perpetrated against Tutsis in 1994, seeing how he unified, or he facilitated, he promoted the unity of Rwandans, seeing how he has contributed for the economic development, the economic growth of Rwanda, it's really something very great. So that maybe if people think he still have the power, the energy to serve Rwandans, I don't see the reasons why people or the Western world, the Westerns can think 23 years is enough. Yes, it's not a very small time in leadership, but if citizens democratically think he's still energetic to serve them, there shouldn't be a problem.
Thank you, Modeste. Now, talking about democratically and also the citizens of Rwanda, I'd like to bring back Gatete into the conversation. The 2015 amendment allowing President Paul Kagame to run for a third term was met with a lot of controversy. Now, this has also altered the perception of democratic norms in Rwanda, both domestically and internationally. How democratic is Rwanda if the president can alter the constitution to run for a third term? And then the 2017 results, I mean, this is 98. The 2017 result says President Paul Kagame scored 98.8% at the polls, almost 100%. These are these are the type of results that would make the president of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, envy. So how are you saying that there's really no opposition in Rwanda to President Paul Kagame's rule? Because that 98.8% leaves a lot to be desired in the minds of quite a lot of analysts.
Right. So the first thing is, it's not Paul Kagame who amended the constitution. 4 million people petitioned parliament. They went to parliament and said, we know the term of President Kagame is over, but can you see to it as our representatives that the legal structure is fit for him to continue being our leader? And then parliament debated this in light of what the people had asked them to do. And in fact, personally, I opposed it because I'm a constitutionalist. I opposed it for the same reasons that people are advancing, of saying a constitution can't change. But I was alone, me and a couple of people went to the Supreme Court to petition because we couldn't petition parliament because Parliament would have seen one person or two people turning up to oppose something that 4 million have suggested. So we took the route of courts and said, oh, a constitution can't change. We didn't oppose President Kagame per se. We just wanted the constitution not to change. And then the court looked at our merits, our submissions, and said, no, this is not a matter that the court should see. We didn't see any violation in the process. Therefore, we leave the matter to Parliament. And Parliament submitted the matter to a referendum. And then the referendum was overwhelmingly voted for in favor of Paul Kagame. So I'll give you another example. So you see, what you call democratic is because people have not really looked at it closely. I'll give you an example. So in a country in Europe or in the West, you have 20% of the electorate standing up to vote and 40% of the people electing somebody. That's about 6% or 10% of the electorate have elected somebody. And we call that democratic. But when a president in a different country is overwhelmingly elected by popular majority, you call that undemocratic. It's unfair. And also you say these numbers are in North Korea, but you should recall that when French President Jacques Chirac was facing Jean-Marie Le Pen is a right-wing extremist radical. When he was facing Le Pen, French President Chirac won by 83%. That's in the biggest democracy country of human rights that we are told in the world. Yeah. Chirac won by 83%, and nobody saw a problem with that. The same things face President Kagame. President Kagame, people are overwhelmingly interested. He has said many times that he wants to retire, but the people say, no, we want you to stay on, and we'll prove it to you by overwhelmingly.
Now, stay with you, Gatete. If you can respond to this in less than a minute, I really appreciate it, because of want of time. There are allegations of human rights abuses, and they've cast a shadow, extrajudicial killings, interference in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and beyond what critics have called sports washing, sponsoring clubs like Arsenal and Paris Saint-Germain, and you know, the Visit Rwanda public relations stunt. What is Rwanda and the government doing to address these concerns and rebuild Rwanda's international image?
Rwanda has nothing to do to address the allegations.
I mean, the United Nations mapping exercise report, for example, documented Rwanda's crimes in the Congo. So these are well-documented incidents of, you know, human rights abuses, you know, and destabilization in the Horn of Africa.
Ask two questions. One of them is post-washing, one of them is interference in the DRC, and one of them is human. The second one, interference in DRC, has 2 points. One of them is crimes, alleged crimes, conducted by Rwandan troops in the DRC, right? So those are the questions, if I got them correctly.
Yes.
Now, on the DRC, when there were allegations of killings in a place called Kishishe in eastern DRC in Ruchuru, all the news media and the UN said there were 150 people dead, 200 people dead, and so on. I and 2-3 journalists went to this place because all these people making allegations had not actually conducted a field visit. So I took 2 more journalists. We went to eastern DRC. We reached the place where they said allegations happened. We documented it in what is called the Kishishe report. We didn't put in our opinion. We only gave testimonies of people. We gave names of people who had died, their parents, their occupation. We also gave names of people who had given us these testimonies. We gave their phone numbers. We filmed them giving us.
And what was your findings? Because we're quickly running out of time. Yes. What were your findings?
Let me finish on that, because I don't care about the sports washing question. I don't need to address it. But this one. And then, in the end, I sent a questionnaire to the UN. I asked them, and to the DRC government, I said, we have been to the field where you allege that massacres happened. We have identified 5 people died. Could you please give us names of people who died? Could you please give us the report that you wrote to the African Consultant? We found out, the UN responded. They said, we don't know the identity of people who died. We just only know a number. We don't have a report. Basically, they had a tweet. Allegations were made on a tweet. There was no investigation. There was no report. We went on the field. We wrote the report.
Okay, Gatete, I wish we could go on, but we're fast run out of time. I'd like to say a big thank you to you, Modeste and Gatete. I look forward to having you back on the program soon so we can talk, we can have an expanded conversation about some of the issues that have been highlighted on today's conversation. Thanks for your time and insights. And this is where we wrap up conversation on the conversation today. Thank you for being a part of the program. I'm Gbenga. See you next time. Goodbye.